And welcome! We are entering the new season of Summer Split. This is League of DFS, and tonight I am excited to be joined by a guest. He is from the LCS Rundown, from the Trinity Force Network, Jax Omen, as you guys know him. And
Hello.
how are you doing?
How's it going?
Good, good. I'm excited to have you on. I'm really like to dig into your mind. As you know, I am presenting on a niche of DFS, of daily fantasy sports, of League of Legends, and we cannot have that aspect without having some knowledge about the game itself, about the things that we expect. I had fun going through the spring split this year, being serious about playing that the fantasy aspect, and then I had MSI fun too. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into League of Legends, how you got to talking about League of Legends, and specifically into LCS.
Okay, so I was playing Dota, the Warcraft 3 mod, before League of Legends was a thing. And then shortly after League of Legends came out of beta, one of my friends was like, "Hey, did you hear about this League of Legends game? It's like Dota, but you can reconnect, and it has scaling on spells." And I thought that sounded awesome, so I played it and have been playing ever since. I stumbled across the Season 2 World Championships tournament and was instantly hooked and have been a Froggen fan ever since.
Huh.
And that's kind of about it. I responded to a casting call when the Trinity Force Network needed LCS Rundown hosts and have been podcasting ever since.
Awesome, awesome. And do you follow both the North American and the European?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am like one of the two guys on the Rundown that's actually a fan of the European teams and not just covers it because that's what we cover.
Awesome. And I know the guys there really still believe North American is the best region of all the other regions. I
They
won't
are
tell them about the
delusional.
other half of the world. So, so I'm excited to have you on because you've been highly recommended by your league mates to just break down, give us a little sense of what to expect from this summer split. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts on the roster changes between the spring to the summer.
Okay. So I'm going to start with Europe because there's not much and it's pretty straightforward. Major roster changes there. Amazing on Schalke 04 instead of being on the caster and analyst
Yeah.
desk. I don't think it's really going to do anything. I don't think you should have been picking up Schalke's jungler for fantasy before, and I still don't think you should. They're just not a point scoring type of team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then the other changes that are a little bit more interesting, Giants picked up Sir Nukes a lot for the
Yeah.
support, I believe. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was Giants.
Yes. Yes. They did. They replaced
Um,
Targamas.
and that's interesting. I have not seen a lot of his play, but I've heard only good things. And then in North America, um, Cloud9. What? I For those who haven't been following the news, Cloud9 has just benched Sneaky, Smoothie, and Jensen in favor of Golden Glue, Keith McBrief, and Zazel. So if you've drafted Cloud9 players for your fantasy, you might want to reconsider because I'm not sure that that's going to be a safe choice.
Right. Oh my gosh. That news just broke hours ago before we started recording, and I dropped everything and had to verify what the hell is going on.
Yeah, I'm still not even certain this isn't just an elaborate troll by Jack.
Any chance that they come back some point in the season, or do you think they're once it's bench, they're done?
I think they come back Sunday.
It's like after the atrocity of Saturday, it's like, well, we know we're not heading anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I expect. This makes zero sense to me. Other than that, like there were other roster changes in North America, but I don't think any of them are really gonna cause a team to rise where like, oh wow, they're suddenly gonna win a bunch of games that they otherwise wouldn't have. Like, I don't think it's gonna change anything.
Mhm.
It's just, yeah, there's a few different players.
Yeah, okay. And definitely that we'll talk a little bit about that later on when we go to predictions. Are we still predicting the bottom teams to be still at the bottoms? Because they had the most roster changes going into this season. But
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that later on. So now we can talk about a little bit about the meta changes and the new patch 8.11. Your thoughts on that?
Fuck this patch. And the reason I say that is because it got AP Kai'Sa nerfed, and I love AP Kai'Sa. Other than that, it's a total clown fiesta. I think teams that are notorious for being very, like, traditional, teams like, for example, let's say Team Liquid, I don't think Doublelift can play anything but 80 carries at an even vaguely competent level. He's been playing marksman 80 carries specifically, not like the 80 casters. He's never been a good Ezreal. He's good on the auto attackers and Lucian. That's the one exception. So like I think players like Doublelift are going to struggle in this meta where those champions that are his wheelhouse are weak. I think players like, for example, Wild Turtle are going to excel in this meta, and that's largely because Wild Turtle plays fucking everything. So he's not only going to know how to play these weird bot lanes that we're seeing in other regions, but he's going to know how to deal with them, even if he is not playing one himself. He'll understand better when does the enemy power spike, when are they vulnerable, and how to play around it.
Oh, wow. So Wild Turtle, that's a great nugget to drop back because nobody was paying attention to what's team? He's on FlyQuest, right? So yeah. Yes, but he is notorious known for his wide champion pool selection. So this meta will definitely fit him. In terms of playing style, how do you think certain teams might excel better? And do you think they've watched the LCK and LPL? They've started the summer split earlier and would copy that, or does these LCS team have their own flavor of style?
I think any team that their style is to play for late game needs to be making big adaptations because that is not a viable meta right now. Period. That means I'm a little bit worried about Fnatic early on in this split. I'm a little bit worried about TSM early on in this split. I'm a lot worried about CLG early on in this split.
Excellent. Yeah. So those are some of the interesting teams that I didn't think of because when it talk about a late game, playing for a late game, I keep thinking teams like Splice or H2K who thrive late game. What are your thoughts on those two?
I think those teams will be fine, and the reason is they play for late game in the sense of let's make some plays and get a lead so that we can get to the late game. Teams like TSM and especially CLG and like Fnatic tend to play more in the let's minimize our losses and go even until we hit the team fighting point in the game where we can be better than our opponents.
Oh, yeah, excellent. Okay, excellent point. So this is awesome news for us to know what to expect. And hopefully the patch changes will come soon enough.
I hope so.
8.12 doesn't look any better.
I really hope so.
8.12
no,
really
it doesn't. Like, full disclosure, I'm a jungle main. I stopped playing League of Legends in 8.10 and took a break, pulled away from the game, and have been playing Path of Exile and Warframe because these metas are that bad. These patches are that bad.
Oh my god.
I am worried and anxious about how pro play is going to look because of these patches.
Oh man, I can totally relate. I stopped playing jungle completely and I just focused on support and top. You know, I'll gladly stay away from the action until I need to be called in. So I can understand that. Hopefully it will draw you back. It doesn't look like 8.12 is going to be that the answer to that. No. So thank you for just giving us a sense of what to expect from these meta and how that might shape the teams. Now, let's we'll do a little look back and then we'll look forward. In the spring split, there were a couple of teams, while listening to you guys had high expectations for teams like CLG. You had high hopes for teams like TSM. They were disappointments. Do you think that teams like that will bounce back, and what other teams do you think will have a better second half to the year?
So those are two of the three teams I was going to say for this. CLG and TSM, while I don't think these are good meta, this is a good meta for them specifically, they are the type of teams and the type of players and the type of support staff and organizational structure that have been spending a long time since they struggled, looking at why they were struggling, working on fixing it. I don't necessarily think that that means you should be looking at them for week one of fantasy per se, but they're absolutely players that you should be considering picking up for your bench slots to swap in once the meta shifts or once they look like they've gotten a hold of this meta, whichever comes first. Same thing is true for Misfits in Europe. I think Misfits played way below the level that they themselves are capable of. They're all extremely good players. I think they'll be fine in this meta, and I could absolutely see them bouncing back and challenging Fnatic and G2 for the top of Europe.
Excellent. And you're wearing the hat. Kind of gives me a little
Yes,
vibe that you're
I am wearing a Misfits hat. Full disclosure on that, my Fnatic gear has not arrived yet.
Okay. So they're currently the kings of Europe, so we'll see how they defend that title for now. And that is those are some of the teams that I am looking forward to as well, whether they can make the bounce back. And it sounds like from everything that you heard, they are making every effort to get back to their dominance of the past, because these are traditionally the powerhouse teams of either region.
Yeah, now I don't have any insider information. That's just what I've seen historically. These are orgs that have been around a long time for the most part, and that's what I've seen from them is when they falter, they double down on improvement and making sure it doesn't happen again.
Absolutely. And to pull an NFL analogy, they sound like the Patriots, the Pittsburgh Steelers kind of teams that may falter one year or another season and then bounce back because they have the right structure, the right infrastructure in place. So my last topic of conversation for you, and then I'll have a listener question for us. Mm-hmm. Now, what is your prediction of how EU and NA will end up? And we're not going to hold you to this. So I know a lot of things can change. The patch can like screw us up, patch changes and all that.
See, this is where you've misread things. I'm from the LCS Rundown. We commit to our dumb predictions. No, in Europe, I think Fnatic's still going to top the table. I think G2 is going to be pretty high up there still. In North America, I think TSM is going to bounce back and be top 2, top 3. I think CLG is going to be in the gauntlet at the end for the third place of going to Worlds. So I think they're at least going to make it to semifinals of playoffs. And I think as far as regression, I think we've already seen some of that from the end of Spring Split. Teams like Echo Fox, Clutch Gaming, I think they popped off and then were exposed and demonstrated that they did not have the support or infrastructure to recognize what their weaknesses were before an opponent shows it to them.
Got it. Yes. How about for our European counterpart?
Same exact thing for Vitality. They kind of showcased that when they have a weakness or a problem, they're not the first ones to identify it, their opponents are. And that's usually what we see going from spring to summer, where a team that was really good in spring is just kind of mediocre in summer, is when their opponents are figuring out how to play against them before they are. And the best teams are the ones where they know their own weaknesses before their opponents can figure it out.
Excellent. Yeah. Wow, I totally missed that, but you did say Fnatic will still remain the dominant team. So you did provide us with a prediction of both sides. Well, thank you so much for tonight. We do have a listener question, and I think it fits perfectly because you are a jungle main, or was a jungle main. Our question to you is, who is the best jungler in your opinion from each region?
All right, so I'm going to start with NA because it's the easy answer. I think Smoothie is the best jungler in NA. He is consistent. He is extremely skilled on a wide variety of champions and styles.
Right.
Like I said, EU's a lot harder. There isn't any one jungler that stands out as much in EU. Broxa has looked very impressive in the past few months in Spring Split and MSI. Xerxes is probably the other one that I would strongly consider. Xerxes, kind of like Smithy, has shown that he can play any style, any meta well. He just doesn't seem quite as dominant as Smithy does, so I can't just say like a hands down, this is who I would pick.
Awesome. So those are some of the names we need to look out to and see how well they do. And of course, Smithy being consistent, Broxa being hopefully carrying that dominance that he showed off in MSI. It was a very impressive performance by him.
Yes.
Well, Jax Omen, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you tell our viewers where they can find your work, where they can reach out to you, where they can interact with you and dig into your mind for more League of Legends information?
Absolutely. What I would recommend is, if you want to find more Jax Omen, to go to trinityforcenetwork.com. There you'll find all of the various Trinity Force Network podcasts. I'm on 2 of them, the LCS Rundown and the Four Wards podcast. And if you want to talk to me directly, the best place to do that is on Discord. We have the Trinity Force Discord link on that website. I'm in the podcaster role in there. I'm easy to find. Hit me up. I'll play video games with you, although probably not until League gets a little bit better.
And we're hoping that gets here soon. We'll just have to continue
like
Bash Riot. Continue Bash Riot. People, if you're watching this, help us out. Just tell Riot this sucks. All right, thank you so much. My name is Chris Chung. You can find me on Twitter at primetime. This video will be posted on YouTube and Twitch, and you can also find me on Discord. My name will appear on this video. Thank you so much again for joining me, and hope to have you back again. This was fun.
Have a good evening.
Alright, so if we're finally going into the heart of League of DFS, and that's talking about line of construction. Well, let's look at how we can break down the salaries and what makes the most sense for us to build a cash kind of lineup. So I don't have the Saturday EU LCS, and at this time there's no salary posted for the Sunday NA LCS, but I will go through down both the Friday and Saturday slates, and my cheat sheet will be up before then to help you guide along the way and maybe any changes have made since this recording tonight. As you may know, this meta has been quite interesting. There's been a lot of just changes in the way the games is approached. We don't know how it's going to affect LCS just yet, but we know that craziness has been going on in LCK and LPL. A lot of different comps, a lot of different champions being played, and quite frankly, in observation of what is being played so far, I think that there's a de-emphasis on having another AD carry because they're expensive and they're not really putting up the stats anymore. Whereas we see more kills being spread out through the mid, the top, the jungle. So those are the 3 positions I'll be focusing on to get into my flex if possible. So let's get started. We're looking at European. They'll kick us off on Friday at 12 p.m. This is 11 a.m. on Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, so make sure you get your lineups in. There's no school for some of you. I know the summer's on, so this is a good time to just sit back, relax, watch the games. For me, I'll be working, won't be able to enjoy it as much as I want. So let's focus on the pricing. G2 is priced as the most expensive, while Rockets is the least expensive. The ones that immediately stands out to me is H2K, Team Vitality, Unicorns of Love, and potentially Misfits. So for cash games, I'm looking into potentially just going with Fanatics and potentially a Splice or Vitality, whichever one I think will win. Everything in me tells me that this meta is actually very geared towards Team Vitality, so that might be an upset pick, something that you can think about stacking. I'm also looking at UOL because I think they've actually did well and they've maintained their team. So I would actually think that UOL has a chance to pull an upset as well. Misfit is interesting. They've been able to beat the Fanatics, but I think Fnatic remains the king of EU and they still playing well. They look well in MSI, just not good enough to beat the international stage. So let's look at how we can build our lineups here. If I'm looking into saving and thinking Vitality might win, I'm thinking going with Fanatics and Vitality as my two main stacks and fill in anything else if need be. So let's start off at the top. I'm unsure about whether it's Soaz or Buipo that's starting. Would be great if it's Soaz again because I trust him better and he'll definitely just be much stronger of a player. But because I want to be more safer in this instance, I will go with the Vitality top Cabochard. Just place him in there. Next, for the jungle, we can go with Broxa. He's amazing. He looks amazing in MSI. He looks amazing throughout the split, and is just one of the strongest jungler in today's game that I think, especially in the European LCS. So next, I'll put in Caps. So that gives me a strong mid. I really like the start of this, and it seems like there's enough salary to maneuver around. So let's go ahead and put Reckless and see how much we have left. 5,500, it's still workable. So let's put in... I don't trust Jock Troll. He was terrible even in games when he won. He didn't look that good to me. If it changed for this meta, I am not sure. And he's also playing with a new ADC. They've replaced Minitropack with Attila. So that's another change that you have to pay attention to. So we'll go with Hillisang. And then, having the salary remaining, we'll kind of try to fill it. Gilius, got Gilius. And Jizuke, let's see if we have enough to have Jizuke in here. Okay, so that gives me 4,000 left. I would have to punt at the team position, which might not be ideal. But this is a good cash lineup that I really like. And I can work with this. Now, if you want to replace Hillisang with some other support, or maybe Gilius with some other flex position, I don't mind that. I think that works out well. Let's look at what my cheat sheet has to offer. So in my cheat sheet, in this new cheat sheet that I built, I will show you kind of the odds, this Vegas betting odds, so you can get a sense of who might be the favorite and why the salaries are geared towards this way. This will give you a great sense of whether you can find a upset or whether you agree with the bettors. And if you do agree with the bettors, I would suggest going with all the favorites, and it's very possible in this split. This colorful thing here is last split's average points given up. So I have a different process than, say, John or anyone else who might be providing advice. I want to look at how teams, how many points they give up, how many DK points they give up per game. And as you can tell from this list from the last split, H2K UOL Giants really gave up a lot of points across, and then followed by Rockets. So as a matter of fact, if you want to go with cash build, you want to attack these teams. Again, I am more of the mindset, more of the belief that UOL actually showed up better, and I'm not sure what I'm to expect from Schalke. So for a GPP build, I might go with Unicorns of Love. And if I'm really feeling frisky and wanting to get a punt or a hedge stack sort of, I might go with Misfits, and that'll give me a lot of savings. I can pay all the way up to G2, who has a favorable matchup against Rockets. So that's kind of where I'm looking at for the Friday slate. So going back, let's look at this Saturday slate. We are looking into our first North American game and how things have shaken up, broken down, shaken up. So one of the things that immediately that we have to pay attention to is that the breaking news that C9 has replaced their whole mid-bot lane. Sneaky, Smoothie, and Jensen are not playing for the time being. I don't know how long they'll be out, and I already talked about this in my earlier video when I broke down what to expect from LCS. So it's gonna change a lot of things. The odds right now will change towards favorite against everyone against C9, and that is, I don't actually like Golden Glue. I don't like Zazel. I don't think they're ready for the big stage. They might prove me wrong, but I'm not gonna put my hard-earned money on gambling on them. So let's have a look at the salaries, how they're kind of spread out. Echo Fox being at the top, this makes sense. This is a fast team that plays very quickly, so there is not a lot of salary flexibility to give you there if you want to stack Echo Fox. The other teams that stand out to me right now, it might be Clutch Gaming, because they are undervalued relative to the late breaking news. So I would think that chalk would flow towards that. I personally am not a fan of playing them because they are a slow team. They are a very much object focused and very little wanting to do a team fight. They showed more of that late in the split, but at the same time, I don't feel like that they are one of the teams that I want as part of my stack. Now, that means GPP maybe, if you think that I'm full of it, we'll go there, that you might just take a chance on Clutch Gamings. You'll want to take a chance on Febefin. You might want to take a chance on their 80 carry. The other salaries that will stand out to me now is TL with 100 Thieves. They seem like the favorites, and while they didn't show off bad, I think they had an upswing at the end of MSI, but people will have that lasting image of them, of how they look so unprepared against the international stage. I think they'll be under-owned. So this is a great team to put into your GPP kind of build. I don't want anything to do with C9. Optics and Golden Guardians present with a very interesting sort of dilemma to me. As you can tell from my cheat sheet, Golden Guardians and Optics were two of the bottom teams and given up a lot of points. So having them face off each other, we might expect a fiesta. It might be a great game to stack, or you pick one of them that you think will win to stack it with your other favorite. So that is the way I'm thinking right now. Naturally, Echo Fox will be at the top. As you can see here, my cheat sheet will have a lot of darkened guys that I think I am confident in for cash. They might be a little bit expensive, and that's why I have them highlighted in black. I have to remove Jensen since he's no longer in this. Sneaky player from the Golden Guardian or Optics. You'll have Power of Evil, you'll have Contracts, Lorlo, Wild Turtle, all of those. Now the other sneaky team that I am heavily considering for GPP is CLG. I think they're going to have a bounce back. We will see. That makes them a very cheap option, and I can stack it with Echo Fox easily. So, but we'll think about cash build. If we're going to build a cash team, I will be looking to maybe TSM and Optic Gaming, since they are favored by Vegas. I wouldn't be surprised again if Golden Guardian wins. But so let's look at how we can build this team if we go with the Optics and TSM stack. So Hanser, CLG is one of those teams that really do give up a lot of points too. If you can look at how it's laid out there, up there, they're down at the bottom of teams points given up. So TSM might have a bounce back. There are still a lot of fans for TSM, and it makes sense. They've been dominant for so long. It's only this past year when they added new players that things have gone south. But in their first game, this is not a bad matchup for them, actually. I don't trust in Mike Young yet. He's still all over the place, so that would move me towards Acadian as my to go towards the other team. Then Bjergsen and Sven. Now we're moving to look at the support. Naturally, I'll stack that with Mythy. And then this gives me 5,800 a lot of room for flexibility. I can probably put another mid, I can put another jungler, maybe with another support. So those are the choices that I'll be going with. This seems like a good gamble for me for cash games. So that's it for looking into the slate. I will be posting my cheat sheet again. Be on the lookout for that on Twitter. And just send me any questions, any changes, I will post on Twitter. You can find me there. That's the easiest place. You can find this video either on Twitch or YouTube. Let your friends know, let your anyone who might be interested in daily fantasy sports of League of Legends know where to find me. Ask me questions. I'm more than willing to bounce ideas with you. We have a chat room. Just ask me if you want to be part of this chat room. It's on GroupMe. It's free. I want to keep it small so we can have fewer voices, but with a very good discussion and debate as to how we can build our teams and how we can attack the slate and win money together. Because that's the whole point of this League of Legends video, is that I want us to grow this community. I want DraftKings to pay more attention. Esports is growing, and I hope to be part of that growth by being one of the ones that really want to delve into League of Legends daily fantasy sports and also on other fantasy formats of League of Legends. Also be on the lookout for my good friend John George's post on the Action Network on his betting articles as well as his DFS breakdown. It'll be up this weekend before Friday, and it contains a lot of good information there with solid processes. If you don't know who John George is, he is the guy that took down MSI Finale and took a first place in nearly all the contests. And he's consistently there, and he has a very sharp process and understanding of how to read the field. So hit him up. He's on Twitter at NTY9ProblemsDFS. That's N99, so NTY9ProblemsDFS. Catch me on next week, and be on the lookout. I will be breaking down next weekend's League of Legends slate as well. Have a good night.